with a whole new set of students for our observers, or at least for me. Maybe you've seen them before. But welcome, welcome. And I know that I had the opportunity to meet some of you last week, and I know I recognize a few familiar faces here. So, let's see. I know that I have Robert and Winston. We have met. But I want to see. We have two other students in my view right now. Okay, I see Nathan. All right, for the other two, just remind me of your names really quick.
OK，谢世宏，你的英文。
My name is Elvis.
Elvis. Ah, yes. Elvis. Okay. And
Hello, teacher. My name is Ebner.
yes, Evelyn. Got it. Okay. Now I see you all. Okay. So for today, to get started, as you can see here, I wanted to start our studies together with a lesson about expressing your opinion. So let me start with what I think will be an overview of what I hope to do over the next several weeks of our course. So I want this to be a lot of conversation and to get us speaking a little bit more. And so, a lot of our topics over the summer will be things that are debatable. Do you know that word debatable? Or have you heard the word debate? Hmm.
No, teacher.
Okay, no, okay. So, a debate is when two people or two groups of people discuss a topic where each person has their own opinion or their own view of what the right answer would be. So, let's take, for instance, maybe I could say, um, oh, okay. So one discussion that is a very popular discussion is, let's say, global warming. At least in the United States, we have some who don't believe that the effects of global warming are that big of a deal. And there are the other people who think that, yes, we need to do something about our planet. And so that's a debate because one group or one person or group of people thinks, yes, the planet is in danger, while another group thinks, no, the planet is not in danger. So it's a debate. And debates can be friendly. I think a lot of times when we have a difference of opinion, it can be friendly. It's not always an argument where we're mad at each other because we have a difference of opinion. It can be a good thing too. So what I hope to do this summer, at least for the first few weeks, is to have some discussions about different topics, and hopefully they will be exciting to you. Okay? So to get started, we'll begin, and let me see if this will help you see a little better. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, a little tip that I got, and see if this works better. Okay, can you still see me in the presentation?
It
Okay.
looks kind of small.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought this might help, but how about we go back to the regular perspective? I'll learn more on our call about Pressy on Tuesday, Luke. Okay, but that was something I thought I would try. Okay, so let's move on then to our first thing of the day. So, what I hope also to do in this class is we will start each class with a question of the day. This is something I did in our last summer program, and I think it's a good way to start the class and get everyone talking and get everyone thinking in English. So, today's question of the day will be, it's summertime, right? So many people take vacations on the summer or they go travel to different places over the summer. So, what has been your favorite vacation that you've taken or place that you've been? So, we'll start. How about we start with Robert? What has been one of your favorite vacations or places you've been?
Mm, my best vacation is I have a travel in Japan.
Okay, you've traveled in Japan. Where did you
Yes,
go?
Tokyo.
Oh, Tokyo. Yes. Oh man, I'm so sad because now the Olympics won't have spectators, and so many people in Tokyo won't get to watch the Olympics. That's so sad. Hmm.
Yes.
So- but probably best so that no one so that not so many people will come into contact with COVID. So okay, Tokyo, Japan. That's a good one, Robert. All right. How about Winston?
My favorite vacation is the first time I go to the Tokyo too,
Okay, we're back.
and
Oh, go ahead.
I go to buy some the toys about enemies.
In animes?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's good. So two people have picked Tokyo as one of their favorite places they've been. All right. Okay, let's do Evelyn. Uh-oh. Oh, I think you might be still muted. Okay. How about Nathan? You go first and we'll come back to Evelyn.
Sure.
Mm. So we have Elvis.
Oh,
El
Elvis. I'm sorry. I
Elvis.
said Nathan. Elvis. Sorry, Elvis.
My uh my best summer vacation is I've been to Osaka.
Osaka
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Japan?
In Japan. Yes.
Okay. Wow, so everyone here has been to Japan. Well, almost. Let's speak with Evelyn. Evelyn, where's your favorite? Are you able to? Okay, you might still be having a
你要
problem with
打
your
开麦克风，unmute first。
My favorite vacation is last year I went to Taipei. I never been abroad. Yes,
Oh, to Taipei?
yes, I never been
Okay.
abroad.
Okay. How did you like it?
Mm, I think Taipei 101, the highest building in Taiwan, is very interesting.
Okay, could you see very far? Like almost all of the city? Could you see?
Yes, very high, very
Okay. Very high. Yes, yes. I have been to the top of the Empire State Building once. And so I bet it's kind of like that. But I think the Taipei 101 is taller than the Empire State Building. I think it's taller, so even higher. Okay, so that gives you an idea of what the question of the day will be like. And so just a good way to start our classes. And from this point on, I will pick one of you to think of the question of the day. So I'll tell you before class that it's your turn, and you get to think of a question to ask everyone. And when you think of the question, I'll also answer with what I think. So for today, my favorite vacation was going to Peru. That has been the best place that I've been so far. And I went to a place called Machu Picchu, which is out in the jungle and lots of wooded areas in the Amazon rainforest. And it's a very cool place. So that has been my favorite vacation so far. Okay. So moving on from the question of the day, let's start talking about our topic. So who can tell me what an opinion is? When I say expressing your opinion, what's an opinion?
Yeah, could you pick someone?
Oh yeah. So how about Winston? What do you think? What do you think an opinion is?
Opinion is somebody think about the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, what someone thinks about something. That's correct. So opinions sometimes are different than a fact because a fact is usually something we know is true or has only one answer and it doesn't matter who says it, only one thing is true. So if I said, since we just had a holiday, if I said the United States Independence Day is on July 4th. That is a fact. It's not my opinion because that is when Independence Day is in the United States. But if I said Independence Day is my favorite holiday, that's an opinion because someone else might think that New Year's is their favorite holiday, or someone might say, well, I think St. Patrick's Day is my favorite holiday. So there could be different answers. So, yes, you're absolutely right. An opinion is what someone thinks about something. And so when we talk about opinions, there are different words and phrases that we use to let people know that it's an opinion and not just a fact. And so let's look at some ways that we express our opinion. So, first, let's talk about asking for an opinion. So, the question of the day is a good example of what asking an opinion is like. So I asked, what is your favorite vacation that you've been on? Or I could say, where do you think is the best place to go on vacation? So asking someone what they think or just asking them, what's your opinion about in a subject? So I could say, Robert, what's your opinion about summer? Do you like it? Do you hate it? That would be a way I could ask for your opinion. All right. So how about Evelyn? Give that a try. Could you ask a question or ask for someone's opinion? How could you ask for someone's opinion here in the class? Just you can try one of the options. Still have Evelyn? No. Elvis, how about you try?
Uh, can you speak can you say the question again?
Yes. So how could you ask for an opinion? Try saying an example of an opinion you could ask for. So using our words here on the screen, how could you ask for an opinion?
What do you think about COVID-19?
Ah, good. What do you think about COVID-19? Good example. Okay, so that's asking for an opinion. So what do you think? So it's not necessarily a fact, but just what do you think? What is your opinion? Okay, so now let's get into giving our opinions. So we have some different ways here, which are probably the most common. So giving an opinion. How about Winston? Could you read those off for me? The options there of giving an opinion?
I think
Yeah,
uh,
let's share your screen again. Let's try it again.
Oh,
Maybe Yeah,
Okay.
just make it full screen. So
Does that make it better?
yeah, Winston just and is it okay to yeah make it full screen?
Oh, okay. Let's see. Mm, is that different
Yes,
or
yes,
better?
yeah, it's
Yes.
better. It's better.
Okay.
And so, which part do you want Winston
Oh,
to read?
just Winston to read just the options for giving an opinion. So he said, "I think," and then he was going to continue.
Oh, good.
In my opinion, I
Mhm.
feel, I would say,
Okay, so let's try. Earlier, you told us about your favorite vacation. So let's try telling us about that using one of these phrases.
um, in my opinion, the trip to Japan is one of my favorite trips so far.
Okay, yeah, in my opinion. And I think in this case, because I was asking about your favorite, you could say I feel or I would say. Those would be even better
Oh,
because and yours was not wrong. I'm not saying that yours was incorrect, but maybe a better way because when we talk about our favorite things, that's a feeling that we have or that's something that we could say. So starting that sentence off with, I feel the best place to go on vacation is this. Or you could say, I would say my favorite vacation has been in the place. So, and those are just options. Definitely any of those would work to start your sentence. Okay, so now giving information, additional information. So many times when someone asks you for an opinion, you may say one or two things, but then want to add information. So let's say I was talking about, you were actually telling me about your trip and some of the things you all were telling me about some of the things that you did. So maybe on your trip to Tokyo, you wanted to pick up some toys, you got some anime merchandise or anime characters as well. And so you could say, I loved going to Tokyo because I bought several toys. On top of that, I also purchased or bought anime characters or anime supplies or anime merchandise. So, on top of that, gives more information. Okay. Introducing a contrast. So, a contrast is an opposite opinion or a different opinion. So this is something that we would often say if we have two ideas about something. So maybe I could say, in this case, using our vacation example, my favorite, one of my favorite vacations has been Peru. But on the other hand, I also loved my trip to Europe. So that shows that I have a contrasting. I said my favorite was Peru, but on the other hand, I also liked Europe. Or so that's how we can use it. So how about Evelyn? Could you give me an example of maybe how we could use either however or but on the other hand?
Um, however, the trip I went to Taipei is not really happy.
Is not really that.
Happy? That's really happy.
Oh, you weren't really happy when you went there?
Yes, because it's rain.
Oh, because it rained. Okay, so this would be an example of how you could say that. So you could say, my favorite vacation has been Taipei. However, it rained the entire time. So that gives a contrast because usually we wouldn't think if it rained all the time that it would be our favorite. Most people don't like when it rains on their vacation. So when you said it was your favorite, now you give a contrast, a different view or a different opinion in the same thought. So it was your favorite, however, it rained a lot or it rained every day. Okay. Now, before I go on to the next part, any questions so far in our first part? Asking or giving your opinion in some other ways that we give information. Okay. So let's look at the next column that we have here, and that is for agreeing, partially agreeing, and disagreeing. So when we talk about a debate, which we explained in the beginning of class, most of the times you will either agree with someone, kind of agree with them, so agree just a little, or even you disagree. So those are usually the options that we have, either to fully agree, partially, which means a little bit. We agree with part of what someone is saying, or disagree. So let's go through who would like to read, or can someone please read our agreeing? How about Nathan? I see that you're here. How about Nathan? Could you read our 4 options for how we can agree with someone's opinion?
It becomes smaller. Yeah. So could
Oh,
you
okay. Yeah, I'm going to read. Yep. Okay, got it. Here we go.
better? Okay, Nathan.
Just read.
Louder, louder, please.
Read
Couldn't hear you.
where
Agreeing.
I
Mhm.
totally agree with that.
Louder, please. Louder.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. And the next one?
That's true.
Okay.
And
Absolutely.
you are right.
Could you try that again? Absolutely.
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 Absolutely. Okay. And you're right. You are right. You're right. Okay. So those are pretty straightforward. How we agree with someone. So we can just tell them, I totally agree. Or we can say that's true. So we're agreeing that what they said is true. Maybe you said Taipei is a great city. And someone could say that's true. Or you're right to agree with you. Okay. Now partially agree. So that means when we agree with part of what someone says. So let's take, for instance, that I really like the summer. So I love the being able to go on vacation. I love the warm weather. I love going to the swimming pool. So these are all things that make summer a great season. But what are some bad things about summer? Can anyone, how about Elvis? What is something that's not so good about summer?
Uh, it's too hot.
Okay, so let's say that I said, Elvis, I really like the summer because I love going to the swimming pool. Could you partially agree with me by using one of those phrases and what you said?
That may be right. That may be true, but it will be too hot in summer.
Ah, great. That was great. Yes, that may be true, but it is too hot. Okay, great. So that is how we could partially agree. So that means that, that we don't disagree with everything a person says, only part of what they said, or we want to offer another opinion against what they're saying. Okay? And finally, the the one that we have to look at the most closely is when we disagree with someone. When we disagree with someone. So more than any of the other ways that we talk about agreeing or partially agreeing, disagreeing is special. What do you think could be a problem with disagreeing with someone? What do you think could happen if we disagree with someone? Joshua, what do you think could happen if we disagree with someone? What's something bad that could happen?
Maybe someone that they are very, they are not very happy about your opinion, and you're saying not you disagree, and they maybe be angry or just like debate with you.
Yeah, debate. Yeah, and debate with you. Yeah, and in this case, I would say they would argue with you. So a debate, when we say that we're having a debate, that usually implies that it's on friendly terms. And by friendly terms, I mean that we have agreed and it's okay. Like when we disagree with our friends and we have a discussion or we talk to our friends and we disagree about something, many times it's a friendly disagreement. And so that's usually how we use debate. But if someone is angry or they don't like what you've said, then we usually use the word argue. Then it becomes an argument, not a debate. Usually, an argument is when someone is more angry or upset, and so it turns into an argument, not just a debate. Okay.
Okay, thank
So,
you.
yes, but you are right that that's something that could happen. That the person could be upset, they could be angry because you disagreed with them. So one thing that we always do when we disagree is we try to be polite in most cases. Most times you want to disagree with someone in a more polite way. And so let's look at these ways we disagree. These next four options have both strong ways that we can disagree, which are not as polite, but really, if you really, really disagree with someone, it might be appropriate or it might be correct to use one of these. But most times we're going to be polite. So let's look at these. I disagree. I'm not sure about that, to be honest. You must be joking. Come on. Which one of those four do you think is the most polite way to disagree with someone? Let me make it bigger. There you go. I disagree. I'm not sure about that, to be honest. You must be joking. Come on. Do any of those sound more polite? Robert, what do you think? Do any of those sound more polite?
I think I'm not sure about that. To be honest, is the most polite.
Yes, you are correct. You are correct. So The ones that are definitely not polite, so they are the ones that are the strongest form of disagreement. You must be joking. Or come on. Those are the not so polite ways to disagree with someone. So you definitely wouldn't want to use those forms with someone who you want to show respect to, such as your parents, or maybe if you are at a job, maybe your boss or your manager, or if you're in school, like your teachers or the principal, you wouldn't want to use those terms with them. So I'm not sure about that, to be honest, is the most polite, and I disagree, is also a neutral option. So by neutral, I mean it's not the most polite and it's not the most impolite or the most rude. It is kind of in the middle. I disagree. There's nothing wrong with saying that you disagree, and it's usually not seen as a rude or impolite way to tell someone that you disagree. Okay? So, what I want to do is I'm going to take a quick screenshot of this because I want everyone to have this as an option. Okay. Now, our next activity that we're going to do today is a listening exercise. So let me just, okay. So now we'll do a listening exercise. Okay. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is I want to teach you a few words that you may not be familiar with before we listen. So today I asked you, what has been your favorite vacation that you have taken? And the reason I asked that is because our listening exercise today will talk about tourism. Tourism. So tourism is what we call the industry or the business of people traveling and visiting places other than their home. So when you travel somewhere, when you go to Japan or when you go to Taipei, since you don't live there, you're a tourist. A tourist. And so when you're a tourist, there are many cities, especially ones that have a lot of historical, like landmarks. Like for instance, in Taipei, you talked about Taipei 101. In Tokyo or in Japan, you might go to Mount Fuji. You might go to other famous landmarks. Like I'm not thinking of any right now in Japan, but when you go to famous places, those are sightseeing. And so that's our first word here, sightseeing. When you go see things in a city as a tourist. So you might go to the beach, you might go to Taipei 101, you might go to a museum, you might go to a famous building or a famous statue. That is sightseeing. Sightseeing. So you're seeing the sights, sightseeing. Okay? A tourist trap. A tourist trap. So if a tourist is someone who is visiting a place, what do you think a tourist trap would be? What does that sound like? A trap. It's not good for the tourist. Go ahead, I hear someone.
It's maybe like someone tells you to go to other countries and maybe put some like cocaines into your pack luggage, and when you're
Uh,
go through and you will caught by police, but the cocaine will go through other countries.
oh, okay, okay.
Maybe
So
a trap.
that is okay. Okay. So that is a good way that you use trap. So I liked how you thought about it. But that's if we call that something different when someone is bringing illegal merchandise into a country. So that's a different word called smuggling, when someone smuggles things to a different country. But a tourist trap, that's a good thought, though. I like that, Joshua. So a tourist trap are things that are set up for tourists intentionally to take their money. So it might be a special, someone might be out doing a performance and they are just trying to get tourists to pay money. Or it could be a famous landmark that the country or the city now charges people to see. So, for instance, Taipei 101, you probably had to pay money to go to the top. It probably costs money to go into the building and ride the elevator and then look out. So, we would call Taipei 101 a tourist trap. Because if you live in Taipei, you probably would not pay money to go to the top of the building because it's something that only tourists do. People who aren't from that place go do. Are there are there any have you ever been to a tourist trap? Let's think about our vacations. Thinking about what we just said, what's a tourist trap that you've been to? So I mentioned Taipei 101. Hmm. Who else? Who else has been to a tourist trap? Can you think of anything? I'll give you another example. Many people come to Los Angeles in California. They come to Los Angeles to see the Hollywood sign. The sign that says Hollywood. Have you seen that before on a picture or in a movie? The Hollywood sign? Well, many people would call that a tourist trap because tourists go there and sometimes they pay money to take a special tour, to have a bus take them to the perfect place to see the Hollywood sign. And so we would call that a tourist trap because as a resident or someone who lives in Los Angeles, I would never pay to take a bus to see the Hollywood sign because I see it all the time. So I don't need to take a bus to see it like a tourist would. A tourist trap. Okay. And then we'll go through a few more words here. Local, a local. Who can think of a local? What's a local? If a tourist is someone who visits another place, what is a local? Hmm. What do you think? What do you think? Nathan, what do you think? What's a local? If a tourist visits, what is a local?
Just like I am in Taiwan and I'm just a local. Is that right?
That is correct. So we can think of local on different scales. So you're in Taiwan, so you are a local in Taiwan as far as the country goes. But maybe where you actually live in Taiwan, so maybe you live in Taipei, maybe you live in Shanghua County. Um, those you could be a local in that place. So when I was in Los Angeles, I was a local in Los Angeles. Or if you live in Taipei, you're a local in Taipei. So where you live, that's when you are a local. Okay? Run down. Run down. Hmm. Run down. Okay. So run down is a phrase that we use to mean that something is not in good condition. So if something is run down, it might be broken, it might look very dirty. It is not in good condition. It's not operating very well. So if I say a rundown building, that would be a building where maybe the windows are all broken, the roof is falling in, it's run down. It's not good. It's not in good condition. Run down. All right. Nightlife. Nightlife. Now this is something people might be in nightlife. What is the nightlife? Hmm. Winston, do you have an idea? What do you think nightlife could be?
Like a club or something.
Yeah, yes, you got it. The clubs, dancing, bars, but nightlife doesn't have to always be nightclubs and bars. Nightlife can also just be activities and things that happen during the evening or at night. So we do often think of nightlife as bars and clubs, but even things that may happen like if there are performances that you go to in the evenings, or maybe a night market. So in many places, there might be a night market where you could go get food and hang out. That would be part of the nightlife. So not always just bars and clubs. And last but not least, standard of living. Standard of living. What is a standard of living? Hmm. I'll give you an example. So if there are a lot of run-down buildings in a city, the standard of living may be low. It may not be very good. But let's say that there are a lot of really nice roads and there are nice buses and trains to take you where you need to go. And the people have a lot of access to fun things to do, like museums and movie theaters. That might be a high standard of living or a good place that you would think to live. So a standard of living is the quality of life or the quality of living in a place. Okay? All right. So now let's take a listen to our listening activity. We have a few minutes left. So for tonight's class or today's class, what I will do is I want everyone to listen. And so this recording is going to be 3 people giving their opinion about whether tourism and whether tourists are good or bad for a city. So whether having lots of visitors in your city is a good thing or a bad thing, that's what they're going to talk about. Because sometimes having a lot of tourists can have negative or bad impacts for a community if they're not ready to handle so many people coming to their city. So that's what the recording is going to be about. So listen, and I'm going to post in the chat. I will attach. Okay, so I will attach a screenshot of all of the different phrases we just went through today. So that is attached in our chat. So you can click on it to pull it up. As you listen to the recording, I want you to see which ones you hear. See if you can spot when the people use these different phrases. Okay? So that will be what we do. So let's move on then to our speaking exercise. And this will be the last little part of class today. Oh.
Is it playing?
It's starting now.
So, Simon, what's your opinion about the tourism explosion here?
I think tourism has really benefited the local businesses. Many businesses depend on the tourist trade, and they provide jobs to plenty of people.
Yes, I totally agree with that. Unemployment is much lower than it was in the past, so that's definitely a good thing for the locals. Also, the standard of living has improved a lot since I last came here. And just take a look at all the new cafes, restaurants, and stores that have appeared. There are many more choices than there were in the past. What do you think, George?
In my opinion, tourism has had a positive impact, but I think that the town's infrastructure and transportation system still need a lot of work. Yes, that's true. It's not that easy to get around. I also think that from the architectural point of view, the tourism explosion has had a negative impact. The town has some of the most beautiful medieval buildings and churches in Europe, but all these ugly new hotels that they are building look awful.
But on the other hand, the money that tourists spend helps the local government to maintain and restore the old buildings. Just a few years ago, many of these buildings looked very run down, so tourism has really helped there. On top of that, the streets are definitely cleaner and safer than before.
That may be true, but I feel the town has lost its character a bit. I mean, there are plenty of places to go sightseeing, but for me, it has been ruined by all the tourist traps, fast food restaurants, hotels, and souvenir shops. Simon, I'm not sure about that, to be honest. I would say the character of the place has improved as a result of tourism. The nightlife is excellent. In the center, there's such a variety of unique bars and cafes. Well, you could be right, but many of those bars attract the kind of noisy tourist who drinks too much and behaves badly. It's not always easy to find a place where you can simply relax with your friends and have a quiet drink.
Okay. So I know we are at the very end of class, but let's go through each student, each person, and see if you were able to catch if they said any of the phrases on the screenshot in the chat. So let's start with Joshua. Did you hear any of those phrases?
Yes, I heard in my opinion.
All right, so one of the ones that you heard was giving an opinion. Okay. And how about Robert? Did you hear? Oh, Robert may have left.
Yes, yes.
How about we just give one more? Winston, did you hear any of those words? Or those phrases?
I hear many of them.
Okay, you heard many of them. There were a lot. So I think that a majority of those phrases were actually used, excuse me, in this video. So next, there is homework posted on the Google Classroom. So just make sure to log in to your Google Classroom to check for homework for next week. And we will come back to this video at the beginning of our next class before we talk about the new material. Okay?
Okay, give me 1 minute
Okay.
to end the class. So I will speak Mandarin, and Quentin, you can try to see if you can understand. 同学，那个第一个啊网络连线不佳啊，你要去测速一下你的网络要改善，进进出出啊，大家会被你分心了。第二个是不要用行动载具啊，就是平板或者是手机。 好，那第3个要养成静音的习惯。如果你讲完话就要静音，不然后面那个摩托车交通声音很吵。第4个，你的麦克风效果啊，这是要自己再找时间跟同学测试一下。好，那第5个，请大家准时上线，然后就是要等老师那个拨电话，有看到一个绿色按钮，你再按进去，你不要主动去拨群组通话。好，那个蓝毯那个群组只是我贴连结的地方啊，你不要在那边等说，老师怎么没有在那边拨电话？你要主动按那个上课连结加入这个群组，才有办法上我们这一堂课。好，那第6个就是请大家回去看那个你的 Google Classroom。上一次我有请大家加入，只是大家过了很多天都没有人加入，所以等一下你看看能不能马上加入，然后老师都在上面会 po 那些 homework。如果你有写 homework， 你下礼拜来上课才有意义啊！如果你没有去写作业的话，来听这一堂课就浪费了哈。好 ，OK， 我们一起 unmute your microphone and say thank you, Teacher Quentin. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you, Teacher
Teacher
Quentin.
We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye
Bye bye.